Pacifico, the crisp Mexican lager that wasn't brewed to blend in. We were made for the moments when you live like you mean it. When you don't just hear the music, you feel it. When you let the bonfire burn into the night and find places you'd never spot on a map. So when the moment calls, choose to reach for the bright yellow can. Choose yellow. Choose Pacifico. 21 plus. Discover responsibly. Pacifico Clara Beer. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. One thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. For decades, Angie's helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find a pro for your project at Angie.com.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about. Like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, the Georgia Guidestones were a peculiar roadside attraction until someone blew them up. Was it a prank by vandals or something more sinister? We'll discuss the podcast, Who Blew Up The Guidestones, from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and the love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Also with us, private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of the Piper Green series of cozy mysteries, Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, all the way from Valencia, Spain, author of the City Trilogy, host of Rip Current, More Like Ancient Phalians, and the podcast soon to be a major motion picture, Strange Arrivals. It's Toby Ball. Hello, Toby.
Hey, Rebecca.
So, Kevin, this is Thursday's podcast.
It is.
What's coming up on future editions of Crime Writers On?
Well, on Monday, we're going to be talking about the series from HBO. It's called DTF St. Louis.
Oh.
Laura, you know what DTF stands for, right?
Drug Task Force?
No.
No, it stands for
Down to Fuck.
Down to Fuck,
no.
St. Louis.
Okay, no, I was thinking Drug Task Force. That's what I was thinking.
Well, I mean,
was
it is
thinking this
Crime
was like
Writers
a
On.
undercover drug show.
Great cast in that, by the way. Great cast. Jason Bateman and David Harbour. It's super good. Yeah.
And then a week from today, on Thursday, we'll talk about the podcast Blood Will Tell from Wondery and Campside Media.
All right, Kevin, should we get into reviewing the podcast we're supposed to be reviewing this episode?
And I'd love to do that.
All right, leading off.
They were known as the Georgia Guidestones. But if you wanted to visit this place in person today, read the messages on the stones for yourself. You'd be standing in an empty field. Because one night, a few years ago, in 2022, someone blew them up.
The Georgia Guidestones were a 19-foot-tall, Stonehenge-like tourist attraction commissioned in 1980 by an anonymous benefactor. Its purpose was unclear, and its granite inscriptions about population control made some uneasy.
Maintain humanity under 500 million, in perpetual balance with nature. There are billions of people on the planet. How would we maintain humanity under 500 million? A purge?
When an explosion destroyed the Guidestones in 2022, some brushed it off as a prank. But controversy around the monument had been growing among evangelicals, right-wing politicians, and conspiracy theorists. The unsolved case has raised the question of who blew up the Georgia Guidestones and the more troubling question of why.
They were sort of like the clue that was left out in the open that sort of explained what the global cabal was all about. Why they thought that this, secretive cabal of elites would carve their intentions on stones and put them in the middle of rural Georgia was beside the point.
The podcast, Who Blew Up The Guidestones, from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and Goat Rodeo, digs into the case, exploring the monument's mysterious origins, its enigmatic purpose, and the many groups who wanted it destroyed. Host Tyler O'Brien investigates the explosion and identifies a new suspect. Was the bombing an act of mindless vandalism or a sinister act of domestic terrorism? Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from Who Blew Up the Guidestones. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. So Laura, I have never heard of anything in the last 5 or 10 years uniting people like these stupid freaking Guidestones united people. You had people on the left who hated them. You had people on the right who hated them. You had people in the middle who hated them. Secular people hated them. Religious people hated them. What do you think of the fact that these things were built at all?
You know, it's like something out of a Dan Brown novel. Like, all I could think of is like the Lost Guidestones of Georgia. And then there's like some weird conspiracy that's finally going to come out. But I'm like, what was the purpose of these? Like, so this mysterious person who builds them puts all this really strange stuff on them that's basically like all these rules for the world that they want. Did they really think that people were going to go out there, read these Guidestones and change civilization and like follow these rules? Like, I just was like, that's crazy. But it was just so weird. And I thought the lead-in was a little weird too, because I was like, I don't think these are the same as a roadside attraction. Like they had the Cabbage Patch birthing hotel that was one, and like another one that was like a giant, was it like a rooster statue or cat statue or something?
Don't forget about the Ark.
Yeah. I'm like, the fact that this was built in Georgia and that somebody from out of state commissioned this to be built, I think that was the part that mesmerized me the most. Like, did they really think that this was going to change the course of history by putting these up? This was a lot of work. And like when you heard how much it cost to build these things, it's crazy.
Yeah. I just want to make it clear that from the very, very right-wing person we hear in this podcast who hated the Stones, it wasn't because of what was written on them. It was because it gave her a bad feeling. They had bad juju.
I went there and felt bad.
It felt real bad.
Yeah.
So, Toby, this podcast starts with a mystery before the mystery of Who Blew Up the Guidestones, which is who built the Guidestones. What do you think of how that was handled in the podcast and that story itself?
So that I kind of loved. I thought this whole Guidestone stuff was like a great piece of kind of weird Americana, that this thing was built. Nobody knew who it was. He like called himself R.C. Christian, but that wasn't his real name. And he told this one banker, because you had to like sign some papers with like a non-alias. So this one banker knew what his name was, but he swore that he wouldn't tell anybody. So these things are up there. And then there's like this, like, it's not really cryptic language, but it's just weird, you know, like some of it's kind of innocuous. And then suddenly it's just like, we got to be really careful with procreation, and we got to keep the, you know, less than 500 million people on the earth. And there's an earlier piece where they have, you know, a conservative Christian, I think, pastor comes and is like wanting them to take it down. And he's like, this sounds like they're calling for a genocide. And it's like, yeah, well, you're right, actually. Like, I think this is probably one of the things we can agree on. But on the other hand, it's like, who the fuck cares? It's just like, there's no political program behind this. There's not anybody who's up there advocating that we follow what's on the stones. It's just like this weird little monument. So I just thought that whole thing and about like, who did it? Like, who funded it? Is it really these Midwestern philanthropists, conservative philanthropists?
He said, it's going to be a monument to philosophically. And of course, the official line was that he represented a, quote, group of Midwestern conservative-minded financiers who wanted to put that up as a philosophy for mankind.
There was a sort of charming aspect to that, and like this really low stakes investigation. And I just thought that was really interesting, and I liked it. And to me, that seems far more interesting than who actually kind of blew him up, because in the end, regardless of who it turns out to be, it's going to be somebody who kind of took them way, way more seriously than they needed to, and is probably not nearly as interesting as this like absolutely awful guy who had them carved and put up in the first place. But just the whole sort of story around it just felt very American and very interesting. And, you know, again, if there's a bunch of people who are trying to act out what's on these Guidestones, it would be horrifying. But I don't think anybody gives a shit except that they get upset about it. And then, so who cares?
Kevin, what do you think about that twist that we get the first mystery before we get the second mystery?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels like, when they set up, Toby used the word low stakes. And in a way it is, because it is sort of this, quirky roadside attraction, and it's in there with the Cabbage Patch Hotel, and you know that it was destroyed and blown up because we hear the sound effect in the beginning,
which you love.
That was the only part I really didn't like. I was like, oh fuck, don't go there. Boom. But after that, it was fine. Right. And you think it's going to be this, and especially when you hear, the way Tyler sort of lays out the backstory, even the whole thing about who did it, it seemed quaint and not nefarious about R.C. Christian. But then all of a sudden, when they start telling you like what some of these guidestones say about the eugenics and are we talking about like Nazism here? What are we talking about? Then it starts to also get this sort of sense of menace. And the more we go along and think about, well, what were the motivations behind doing this, that it just kind of gets more intense for me.
Yeah.
Whereas we see like something that, are the guidestones like really important? No, it's not the Washington Monument or something like that. The things that they stand for are kind of weird, and you've got this weird group of opponents against it, this menagerie of different disgruntled groups. But then you start thinking about
people, Kevin.
Lizard people, new portals to different dimensions.
And how you can tell who's a lizard person, which is important to know.
Their eyelid or something. That guy. Okay, I'm just going to transition right out of that. Okay, I'm just going to say, that fucking guy, if I were Tyler and that reporting team, I would have told him to fuck off after he's jerking you around about.
The guy claimed to have the guidestones?
The guy claimed to have the guidestones, right? And so I know where the rubble is, or I have it. And they're like, oh, it's not under. Like, I would have just been done with him.
The Guidestones was a portal for the inner earth of the lizard people, and that's really why I think that we have it.
And did it close up when it was blown up? The portal?
I'm not sure. I really don't know. It's one of the big mysteries around here.
They decided they were going to go as far as they could to make sure on this, and they ended up following him, walking around this stupid granite thing, and I'd be thinking, he's drawing us into the woods to murder us. There's all this granite, he's going to hit us with a big rock. But then they actually find it. And even though he's talking about lizard people, and I got to say, every time that he did it, Tyler was like, oh, he's just joking. And I'm like, it does not sound like he's joking.
Yeah, I like this low stakes podcast because not unlike Broomgate, what it does is it brings us into a community and meeting people that we never otherwise would go to and would never otherwise meet. And some of these people are freaking characters. The people who care about the history, the woman who ran for governor. What a character that she is.
Candace Taylor.
And, of course, the granite guy. And I just want to say, Georgia isn't even in the top 5 of granite producing states in the country. I looked it up. Neither is New Hampshire, by the way. But they call it the granite capital of the world or something. Sure. We are the granite state, motherfuckers. You call yourselves whatever you want, but I take umbrage.
And we actually have a thing called American Stonehenge.
My house is literally sitting on a granite ledge. There's granite ledge everywhere. White Mountain's made of granite. Everything is granite here. It's not just some rando quarries. Everything is granite.
We are guidestones ourselves.
We are. And it's not even in the top. Anyway, that's a side note. But, and by the way, I don't know where Vermont granite came from. Tyler, like seriously, you're talking about New Hampshire there. Anyway,
Danby Marble.
I do like meeting people, and in a way I wouldn't normally meet them. And Candace Taylor is a great example because we would more typically meet her in the context of a political podcast, hear her views and be like, wow, right? And instead here, we're meeting her in the context of this mystery and finding out how she felt about them, which sort of goes with her kind of weird philosophy around the world and the heebie-jeebies that she got and all that stuff. And I think that tape is great. A lot of great tape in this podcast. Laura, what did you think about the Candace Taylor angle of it all?
I was surprised when she actually agreed to talk to them. I thought that was awesome. And she answers the phone. And, going from how she was basically campaigning on removing the stones, and she just kept talking, like you said, about how she got this weird feeling and it was creepy and she just something felt, wrong, to the backlash when the stones are then blown up. I just couldn't believe how much she talked. I mean, she went on and on and on.
And when we rode by, I'm telling you, from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, I felt not the Holy Spirit. I felt a wicked presence. And I thought,
The fact that, I think you can draw that line to those stones being destroyed right after she's talking about how they need to go and they shouldn't be there. Again, it's like this is where we're at in this country now. So be careful what you say, because you never know who might be listening and might take action.
So Toby, speaking of Candace, we get a little bit of QAnon makes an appearance. Hey, QAnon, what's up? What do you think about that? Because, like I said, this monument is something that people were united in dislike of it. But given where she's coming from, she's a little bit different, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they're kind of positioning it as being like literally the work of Satan. You know, I mean, it's just got this like
literally,
this like fundamentalist religious tone to it. So whatever. I mean, if that's what you need to get yourself ginned up against genocide, like fine. You know, I think they're on the right side of it. But again, it's for these like totally bizarre reasons and a lot of hysterics involved and stuff. And it's also just like I don't know. I mean, this stuff is like kind of offensive. It's more offensive when you get the backstory and things like that. So if you're just going in and on it cold, like I think it seems just kind of weird. I'm sure there's monuments to like Nathan Bedford Forrest, who founded the Klan, that are still up and stuff. I mean, it's just like, it's offensive, but on the scale of things that we have monuments up to on offensiveness, like this feels like pretty low on the totem pole if you're putting up things for the guy who started the Klan and stuff. So anyway, I don't know how I know Candace Taylor. She was involved in something else that was in the news at some point.
Trying to turn over the election results in Georgia or something like that, maybe?
Yeah, it could have been.
Was she a Patreon patron saint of the week once?
Oh, maybe she was.
I'm sure she's a big fan of ours. Yeah, but it's like typical. It's like, it's not enough that it's just like offensive. It's not something we want to be seeing. And why are we paying any public money to maintain it? And why don't we just take it down? It's like the devil put this thing up and, you know, we got to bring church leaders and Christians need to take this down. And I'm like, God only knows what the QAnon take on it is, but you knew they were going to jump in it somehow. So anyway,
that's right.
It's like a Rorschach test of like, what about this makes you hate it, you know?
But who blew up the Guidestones? Why did they blow up the Guidestones? And is Candace Taylor the Patreon patron saint of the week? No, she is not. But you can find out by listening to the business section.
It's the business section.
Yes. If you join us at patreon.com/partners in crime media, you'll get all sorts of exclusive content, including the Crime Writers on After Show, Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast, Married with Podcast, and Something's Off. You'll also get Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast. And if you join us at the Let's Do What We Do level, you get all that and episodes of Crime Writers on early and ad-free. And if you can help us out as a deep diver at that level, you'll get to watch Toby and his guests record the deep dive. You can even jump in the chat or even jump on the screen and share your discussion thoughts. The last book that Toby and his panel covered was This House of Grief. Now, other ways you can support us will be at our Amazon storefront, where you can see some of our favorite things. So, Rebecca, when folks go to Amazon and they stop at our storefront,
yes,
what are this week's Amazon recommendations?
Well, Kevin, I have a new favorite beauty product that I'm going to share. It's e.l.f., E-L-F, Sheer For It Blush Tint. It's really fun. I use it as a lip stain. That's why I looked it up. I was like, what's the best lip stain? And someone said this, and it's like $6. And it's freaking awesome. I love it so very much.
Now, Toby, what are your listener-inspired Toby Ball's deep cut recommendations?
Well, I'm going to go with something that I would actually like. Oreo double stuffed golden sandwich cookies, king size, 12 snack packs. And get this, each snack pack has 8 cookies, which is a pretty big freaking snack pack.
That's appropriate.
Was that a small snack pack or big cookies?
Something's going on.
They're king size double stuffed cookies.
Wow.
Yeah,
double
love that.
stuffed golden sandwich cookies. I love the golden Oreos.
I think they mean king size
I like
snack
the golden
pack.
ones too. Yeah.
Like the snack pack has 8. Kevin loves the golden ones.
Oh, 8 packs. All right, that makes sense. All right, good selection. Good selection. What else you got for us?
This is something that probably I wouldn't enjoy quite as much, and that is the Ole Silk, or maybe it's Olay Silk. It's a little hard to tell. Mulberry silk bonnet for sleeping women. Real silk, not satin.
Oh.
Pink.
Yep. Good for the hair. Keeps your hair curly, or if you have curly hair, or if you have black hair, African-American hair, that's very helpful. It helps keep the dew overnight.
Toby, I do have to ask, are you able to get Oreo golden double stuffed cookies in Valencia?
I don't know if I can get double stuffed, but they definitely have Oreos. One of the weird things about Spain is that there's a hell of a lot of like chocolate stuff. If you go to the cereal aisle, I would say 25% of the cereals are chocolate cereals.
Yeah, they are. I love that.
I hate it. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of chocolate shit. So yeah, you can definitely get Oreos. You can get, I think I've actually gotten golden Oreos since I've been here, but I don't think they're double stuff.
I bet they have higher quality ingredients than our Oreos, though.
Yeah.
Because the laws
how
there.
dare you.
Actual laws.
Yeah, the ones from Aldi that come from other countries as well that are like, you're like, what are these? Oh, they don't have all the red dye number 5.
That's right.
Yeah. And you wonder why someone blew up the Guidestones.
That's right.
Right there, America.
That's right.
Remember to shop us first at amazon.com/shop/Crime Writers On. We earn commissions on qualified purchases.
Kevin, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week this week?
Our Patreon patron saints are Megan Eckhart and Monica De Leon. Bless you.
Megan and Monica, thank you so much for supporting our podcast.
OG supporters.
I know. Thank you so much. We appreciate your longtime support. Join Megan and Monica and support this podcast. $5 a month, $6 a month. You get like 1,000 episodes of additional content.
I'll tell you, each month we get more than 20 episodes.
Yeah.
20 podcasts that we get to listen to.
It's a wealth of podcast for you back there. Anyway, Kevin, does thus end our business section?
Thus ends the business section.
Let's fade that music out.
Pacifico, the crisp Mexican lager that wasn't brewed to blend in. We were made for the moments when you live like you mean it. When you don't just hear the music, you feel it. When you let the bonfire burn into the night and find places you'd never spot on a map. So when the moment calls, choose to reach for the bright yellow can. Choose yellow. Choose Pacifico. 21 plus. Discover responsibly. Pacifico Clara Beer. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Why have I asked my HVAC guy I found on Angie.com to change my grandpa's trachea tube? I was so amazed at how he replaced our air ducts. I knew I could trust him to change Pop-Pop's tube.
I think we should call her Doctor.
Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
Close your eyes. Listen to Monday.com. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform. So flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally breathe.
Kevin, Toby described the Stones as a Rorschach test. Like, why do you hate them? It's like a Rorschach test of who you are. You mentioned in your notes a Venn diagram. What are you referring to there?
Well, I love that there's like this rogues gallery of suspects, right? People that right around the time they were blown up are like venting and throwing shade at these Guidestones. And I'll just say, like, the suspect profiles here overlap in a lot of different ways. The conspiracists, the evangelicals, the political extremists, and let's not forget people who are mentally ill and are likely to do violent things for illogical reasons, right? So I would guess, like my suspect guess, and I'll just point out that this was supposed to be 6 episodes. And because of the living nature of this active journalism, they were able to create a 7th. That 7th episode dropped yesterday as you are listening to this. So we didn't get to listen to it. That's in the future. It dropped in the past. So we don't know.
Space-time continuum.
Space-time continuum, right? So right now, if you want to listen to that 7th episode, you can. And you will know who that suspect that Tyler tracked down is.
Right.
My guess is that, and I don't know if this is part of it or whatever, I'm thinking about that guy who showed up at the county offices. I was at the code enforcement and was asking about stuff and then just kind of vanished afterwards. I bet that's...
With a car full of tannerite?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I bet you that's who that dude is. But there's a lot of other things here, right? I mean, we also get to hear from our friend Chris Joyner.
Yes, we do.
As who is the,
Chris has entered the chat.
extremist expert. Yes. And he gets brought into this, you know, saying that basically, specifically with QAnon, that it does encompass a lot of these different weird beliefs. So there's something for everybody in Q. So,
people who like pizza pedophile lies. People who like drinking baby's blood lies. Something for everyone.
Yeah, it was very coded.
Vampires.
Yeah. I think that, like, okay, is Candace Taylor, she does sound crazy, but is it possible that she could legitimately have been the catalyst for someone to do something extreme? Well, I mean, it's a percentage greater than 0.
Yeah.
Absolutely. By the way, can a governor even just tear down a
Yes.
I guess they consider it a monument.
Nikki Haley did it when she was governor. She tore down. It was funny because 2022 was also like the era of tearing down like racist monuments, many of which are back up now. But like, I was just like, that was a trend, man. That was in the news. Like someone was probably like, let's get rid of this one too, as long as people are doing that. So Laura, we get to look into some of the shoe leather journalism behind this here, including public records and all that stuff. What do you think about when you get to hear journalism in real time on a podcast?
You know, I always love this. We hear Tyler, he's been trying to get these records, trying to see what will be released in this case. Finally, they get word they're going to be giving them some video footage, not the footage that's been released. So they go off to pick it up. And, you know, we hear Tyler going in, but then I like that they left the tape running and you can hear him just kind of like shooting the shit with this woman who's turning over the footage. And you're like, hey, so do people like ask about this a lot or like whatever? But then one of my favorite personal scenes, because I am a fan of chicken fingers or chicken tenders, as we call them here in New Hampshire, is they can't wait to watch this footage. So they stop at the local place where they get the chicken fingers with the special sauce to watch the videos in real time. And we get to hear their reaction to seeing this new video that actually shows something that they didn't know about before.
Is that a guy with a cooler?
Yes, dude. Yes.
Oh my God, yeah. I've never seen this footage.
I know.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's the person running away. They did not release this footage.
I loved when they went into the BMW car forum on Reddit to help solve the car mystery. I happened to be part of the forum that they put the question out for, and I went and I just was like, as soon as they said, this is some older model BMW, I was thinking they should have gone on the BMW forum on Reddit because those dudes are nerds. They're like total gearheads. They're total nerds. They're like, I don't really like the new grill design of the M40 or whatever. And I'm always like, who fucking cares? I find it fascinating. It's a great subculture that I find super fascinating. But yeah, that's what they did. And they got their answer from the nerds, which I super duper liked. Speaking of investigation, Toby, what is the deal with the GBI? I feel like we hear about the GBI a lot in true crime podcasts. Usually when something's going on, that's not great.
Yeah.
What do you think about the fact that they kind of like never picked up this ball?
They love podcasts. That's what you said.
Yeah. I was trying to figure that out. I don't know if there was like, if somebody blows up a monument and nobody gives a shit, like, do you have to actually investigate it? I don't know. I assume it wasn't like a huge priority. Like, who's the aggrieved party in this? But I have no idea. It seems very strange. I would assume that if they're like making a priority list, it would be fairly far down there and maybe they just didn't do much about it and nobody cared. And then they were just like, okay, well, that's easy. We'll just cross that one off. We'll just throw the stuff in this guy's backyard who's got a lot of granite and get on with our lives.
Laura, why do law enforcement always say an investigation is active when it definitely is not?
So that they don't have to turn over any information to people that file public freedom of information requests. As long as it's open, they can be like, nope, we can't turn that information over. It's still open, even though we just heard this in that other thing that we did. It was open for years and nothing happened. And that's their excuse. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I don't think that what happened to the Guidestones is particularly unusual. It's only unusual because the Guidestones themselves were so weird. What do you think? Is this like a singular act of like low-level terrorism here?
Well, okay. Do you remember when somebody burnt down the senior center in our town? Like
Under construction,
after
yes.
It was still being built, and there had been like all sorts of
vandalism
arguments at town meeting about the cost, and then someone burns it down, right?
And they left a message when they burn it down and spray paint. Not with my tax dollar sign. Wild.
Well, could be stoned somebody off, right? So you have that. And I don't know, maybe Laura remembers when there were 2 pipe bombs found at the State House and at the State Library. And everybody knows who did it.
Who?
Well, I'm not going to... Okay, his name is... They never could have arrested him, but they all know because he's nuts, and there are like signs at state buildings like, don't let this guy in. So my only point being that these kinds of homegrown things happen without encouragement. But you also throw in, oh, this is demonic, or this has something to do with the trafficking of the children, or this has something to do with Nazis and eugenics and whatever. Or imagine they're going to say, oh, the cost to mow the lawn around this thing is going to bring taxes up. People don't need a fucking reason, right? Get some goats. But you put something like this on top of that.
Yeah.
You supercharge it.
Yeah.
And so the Guidestones themselves do not seem like an obvious target for terrorism.
No?
Right? No. I mean, like, I'm not going to give you a list, but there are certain like buildings and symbols of democracy or government or activism that like you would say, oh, like if somebody burns a black church down in Georgia, you know what that's all about.
Right.
You know the score without knowing anything more than that. Why someone would blow up this stupid fucking thing is weird in of itself, but actually the why and the who and that part of it is actually kind of scary. And that kind of blew me away for something that you might say is a silly monument that got vandalized in some really big way. When you find out there's something deeper and darker here, it's rather unsettling.
Pacifico, the crisp Mexican lager that wasn't brewed to blend in. We were made for the moments when you live like you mean it. When you don't just hear the music, you feel it. When you let the bonfire burn into the night and find places you'd never spot on a map. So when the moment calls, choose to reach for the bright yellow can. Choose yellow. Choose Pacifico. 21 plus. Discover responsibly. Pacifico Clara Beer. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Why have I asked my electrician I found on Angie.com to bury my pet hamster? I was so moved by how carefully he buried my electrical wires, I knew I could trust him to bury my sweet nibbles after his untimely end.
This is very strange. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
This is a Monday.com ad. The same Monday.com designed for every team. The same Monday.com with built-in AI, scaling your work from day one. The same Monday.com with an easy and intuitive setup. Go to Monday.com and try it for free.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today, and let us surprise you.
All right, Laura Bricker, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out the podcast, Who Blew Up the Guidestones from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution?
Yeah, I'm going to go thumbs up on this. This was unique. This isn't the type of crime story we typically listen to. There is a crime here, obviously. That's not a spoiler. Somebody blew up the Guidestones. That is in the title. So we know that something happened. What I like about this, sounds like if I was working in a newsroom, this would have been a super fun project to work on. This is a crime against an object, not against a person. And it kind of brings out all the wacky characters and personalities in this area of Georgia that have something to say about these Guidestones and what may have been happening there or not happening there, or what they think might have been happening there. And, you know, it's something where it ties into so many different parts of our current society, from like the religious angle, the political angle, the purely bizarre. You know, I'm thinking like, what are some weird things in New Hampshire that people are looking for, that who blew up the fake Guidestones?
Oh, that statue of that lady in Boscawen, that's like so gross. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, it was an interesting story. I hope in the bonus episode that we haven't listened to, we get some sort of resolution. That would be, you know, very satisfying. But it was just kind of interesting. I was like, it meandered a little bit at times, but overall I was like, it's kind of interesting, kind of quirky. Some of the people in here I would like to go talk to. So thumbs up.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for Who Blew Up the Guidestones?
Yeah, there's a few things going on in this. I really love the story of the Guidestones. It feels like something from like the 30s or 40s, but in fact, it was 1980 when this thing was made, which is just weird. I don't know. It's weird, and it's also kind of dark in a way that I thought was really interesting. And then the investigation who actually blew them up is also, I mean, it's quirky. You meet a bunch of quirky people. You also get a sense of how it affects different kinds of people in different ways, which I thought was kind of interesting. Always great to hear Chris Joyner. So yeah, I enjoyed this quite a bit. So I'm a thumbs up.
Kevin Flynn.
I'm a thumbs up too. This podcast seems like the perfect blend of low stakes and high menace. It's about a target of little importance, but the motivation is what's really troubling. It's dark in that way, and it ends up being sort of this surprise that what we're talking about as far as a target is not very significant, and it's kind of funny and goofy in a certain way. But the deeper you get into who might have done this and why they might have done it, ends up being way more disturbing than you might think. At least that's how I took it. I want to give some credit to the host, Tyler O'Brien. He certainly comes across like he knows what he's doing in a podcast. He clearly has brought like that conversational style that the best podcasts have, and including some really great investigative work by him and the team at the AJC, because this ends up being another one of those living investigations where the podcast comes out and it creates new opportunities, and then instead of 6 episodes, we get a 7th, and they make progress on, again, what might seem like a cute little pet project about a weird small town thing. It's actually much darker than that, and it goes to show what someone with a personal cause that is animated by other forces, sinister forces, might do in your town. So for all of those reasons, I really enjoyed this podcast, and I think it's definitely worth a listen. So I'm giving it a big thumbs up.
Thumbs up for me, too. This obviously was a co-production, and I wonder if Tyler O'Brien and his team pitched it to the AJC. And I think it's great that this journalism outlet has really doubled down on podcasting and is now working with an outside team to make something cool. It's really, really smart. They're not like tying up a whole team of their own reporting staff to do this. Somebody has a story who could do it well, and they partner with them to do it, I believe. I love a low-stakes, well-made podcast, because the low-stakes, well-made podcasts actually tell a different kind of story that they're not hammering you over the head with. It just sort of unfolds as you meet people. There's a woman right now in Hanover, Massachusetts named Mary, who is making TikToks and little episodic TikToks, which I kind of think of as like the next era of podcasting. She parked legally on a residential street to take a dog for a walk, came back, and the neighbors had gathered around her car and were taping notes on it and shaking their fists at her and screaming at her. And the police came and sided with them. And she's turned this into a whole freaking thing that millions of people are now like waiting for the next little drop to come out about
Legally
this.
parked on a public street.
Yes. And I'm like, this actually tells a story about America, even though it's this one lady and this one dog and this one trail. And in her second or third episode, like there's like 2-minute videos, she goes to the street to park again, and there's another car there with other people who saw her video and are like, I want to see this trail where it's so great to hike. Show me. It's lovely. This podcast is like one of those. It's like a story that somebody hears in a bar, and that if you pitch to a big podcasting company, they'd be like, what's the there? What are the stakes? Blah, 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 blah. Well, the stakes are we get to go places and hear people that we never otherwise would have heard or seen, and it sort of sets us thinking about other forces going on around us and things that we can relate to or see in the news without like having it be a hammer, right? So I really like this podcast. I would love if the AJC made more like this about like weird Georgia stuff. I'd listen to the hell out of them. We'd definitely review them on the show. So yeah, big thumbs up for me too for Who Blew Up the Guidestones. That's going to do it for us. But before we go, Laura Bricker, do we have a cat of the week this week?
So this came in on my Instagram DMs.
Yes.
From longtime listener, Johanna Olexi. Longtime listener, first-time follower. I love the stories in Cat of the Week, even the ones that end in a dead animal. I thought this story about a nearby women's correctional facility pairing with the animal shelter was a good one. The women are caretakers for adoptable cats. You were the first person I thought of when I read this. And she sent me, this is Friends of Anne Arundel County Animals. So they have 6 cats and kittens, have become the first shelter felines in quite a long time to make the Maryland Correctional Institute for Women their new home. So this 11-year-old collaboration, one of the very few of its kind in the country, pairs each shelter cat with 2 prison inmates who are responsible for the animals' 24/7 care. Being a cat caretaker is considered a major perk, and it's truly moving to see the caretaker's devotion to their charges. If a cat's caretaker leaves, for a suitable home, she can adopt the cat when she is released.
Amazing.
That gives me the chills right there. So at one point, almost 30 shelter cats were living at the prison, but the shelter stopped sending cats there when logistics became complicated. But now these 6 cats are there. And I think this is awesome. This kind of reminds me of like the quilters, but for cats.
Yeah. I love the lead picture in this thing that you sent, which has the scruffiest, mangiest looking of the cats being held by this woman. I mean, it's cute. Don't get me wrong. But still, look at all these beauties. And then they put that one in the main photo. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
All right, Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you with their heartwarming tales or pictures of their own pets or any kind of animal in the world to be Cat of the Week, how can they find you on social media?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Instagram and Blue Sky.
You can also, of course, email us at crimewriterson@gmail.com with your submission. Toby Ball, how can you be found online?
At TobyBall603 on Instagram. That's basically where I am these days.
What about you, Kevin?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
You can follow me at Reb Lavoie on Instagram or X. That's mostly where I lurk. But mostly you should follow the show at Crime Writers On across all the platforms. And you should really join our Facebook group. It's kind of rad. We'll let you in if you literally know any one of our names. Get everything we make on Patreon and support this show if you like our work at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia. Our theme song was composed and performed by Tyler Gibbons, and our editor is the really wonderful Livy Burdett. The EP of this show is Kevin. This show was recorded in the Caitlin Rogers Project Studio, also known as Studio C, the closet in our New Hampshire basement, where we also think lizard people are guarding dimensional portals right outside our door. Right, Kevin?
Absolutely.
On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening.
There he is! He's looking at me with his weird eyelids!
It's like that lady on the plane. We will catch you later.
So they go off to pick it up, and we hear him just kind of, hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, maybe not. Oh, maybe so. Hold on. Sorry.
Sounds like an outtake.
The suspense is killing me.
I had a sinus thing for like 2 weeks. I was like, oh shit.
Partners in Crime Media.
Pacifico, the crisp Mexican lager that wasn't brewed to blend in. We were made for the moments when you live like you mean it. When you don't just hear the music, you feel it. When you let the bonfire burn into the night and find places you'd never spot on a map. So when the moment calls, choose to reach for the bright yellow can. Choose yellow. Choose Pacifico. 21 plus. Discover responsibly. Pacifico Clara Beer. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Why have we asked our contractor we found on Angie.com to be our kids' legal guardian? Because he took such good care when redoing our basement that we knew we could trust him to care for our kids, all 8 of them, should something happen to us.
Are you my dad now?
No, sorry, I do basements. Connecting homeowners with skilled pros for over 30 years. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
Close your eyes. Listen to Monday.com. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform. So flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally breathe.